Surface waters. Pond. Open space to be preserved. It's not applicable, right?
Not technically, because it's not a subdivision with common land or anything like that.
Deed restrictions, if any, we already discussed that, so. Indications of existing dry hydrant and or fire pond within 200 feet if applicable. Don't use that.
I hadn't noticed a hydrant around there.
I've never seen
Don't
one.
believe.
If a private road be located within any of the subdivided parcels of deed to each such lot, parcel or tract.
We are not proposing any private roads.
Subdivision regulation compliance statement.
I believe that is under.
Regulations, it's note number 6.
All utility system installations.
Say that is not applicable because there's already existing utilities for the smaller lot.
And I think this group is pretty much not, so where 3 or more dwelling units, that's not the case. Location profiles with elevations of existing proposed water supplies within 200 feet of lot to be subdivided.
Say that's not applicable. There's one existing well on the smaller lot.
What about the abutting lots?
The abutting lots, we did not locate any. We did not notice any that are within any noticeable distance to the property lines.
I'm assuming from these lots that this is the only building?
You must have a house on your lot, so yours is vacant, so there's no well on.
There
There's
is
a well.
There is a well.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's right on the line.
right on the line. Okay. All right, we can make. We still have to go out and finish a little bit of marking, so I can make a note of that on there. Yep.
So,
So now we've got a few things that we need to.
There's always a few. Never perfect the first time.
location of existing proposed sewers and septic systems.
Yep, the existing septic system is out in front of the house.
And you also, is there a septic leach field or
We
anything?
had when we bought the property, we had an existing septic plan, but it's since expired. I plan to
But never
try
installed,
to get that redone.
but never installed though. So
There
there's
is
no-
an existing septic system that is required to be removed.
So yes and no.
But maybe if you
It
could
was
for
the
that.
house on the
Yeah.
property, it burned.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, for that particular question, is there also one for proposed secondary one or no? No.
Just location of
Just the
existing.
location of existing.
So I'm not sure about, oh, no, I'm sorry, location of existing and proposed.
And I believe the proposed would be anything on the lots that we're proposing as opposed to neighboring lots.
Okay, and that's located where or identified where?
We aren't proposing a system because the existing one is planned on being reused for the house that's there.
Location of culverts, drains, and proposed connections, or alternate means of providing water supply and disposal of sewage.
Not proposing any of those things here.
Location of all test pits.
We did not perform test pits as stated.
And I think based on our earlier discussion, when you came to visit, we indicated that we did not feel that it was necessary to do so.
Right, yeah, could because of the existing septic system on that smaller
Right.
lot. That lot would already be taken care of, and the remaining land going in conservation, that would basically mean it wouldn't need one.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm noting that for the record.
Yep, thank you.
Does that make sense to you, Sarah, that we wouldn't require, given that that's
Could be conservation easement.
Well, more of this lot here that's being created.
It already has a system,
Okay. But,
which is on the lot as opposed to being
okay.
across the line.
Engineering streets showing location detail of proposed streets and driveways is not proposed.
Yep.
And statement of responsibility and liability for private street and road, that's
Not applicable here, right?
Partridge Road is a mess, but doesn't really pertain here. So a copy of State New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services subdivision certification sheet.
It's not applicable here because the lot is over 5 acres.
Copy of State New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services septic construction approval. Not created, there's no.
There we go.
Copy of state wetlands. Applicable. Copy of state highway access permit.
Has an existing driveway there, and we're not proposing another driveway on the state road.
Open space dedication document, is that applicable? Not really. Performance guarantee, there's nothing being done. Condominium, association, applicable, electric lines, and other utilities to be installed, but you're not doing anything.
Nope.
30-foot access easement for subdivisions with frontage or access to surface water. Applicable. And engineering calculations for stormwater drainage and erosion sediment control. So it looks like what we still need is the lots to be renamed,
Right.
180.
The signature for the,
Yeah, and I'll sign that when I update the final plans. Yep.
Then also the deed restrictions regarding the water.
Yep, the abutting water rates. Yep.
And the only other thing was the location of the existing, the well.
Neighboring well, yep.
Any other comments? You guys are all set with all your concerns?
All set. Sounds good.
Can you tell me if the dam is in the Carter Notch Road right-of-way?
We show it, it's a little hard to tell here, but we show it as being just outside the right-of-way on the private property. That's as how, we have this laid out as a 2-rod road. There is no, we've never found a town layout for the road that specifies how wide it is. So what we do when we survey along the road, we look at stone walls and different evidence and what the town or the state has maintained to over the years. And this section of road is very narrow. So we've taken that it's a 2-rod right away, which is 33 feet wide. And then anything outside that 33 feet is private property.
Okay, I might question that because I don't know that we have any 2-rod roads. But I'm just curious because it was felt by the fishermen of town that you could stand on the dam and fish the pond
Yeah.
without trespassing.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, it's true. It was-
Yeah, no, that's certainly understandable.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure, like I said, with the absence of the layout, I mean, somebody else can come in and argue and say that it's wider, and so, we'd certainly be open to that, but that's what we
Maybe if
judged
you
it as.
stood on the far side of the
Or you'd really
first
have to
board.
cast if you
If you're good at fly fishing, you can do it. stand on the side.
Why wouldn't you be in the river right next to it? Standing
Just
on the
don't stand in
road.
the road, I guess. That would be good.
I'm not gonna fish there. I was just curious, 'cause I know that was the lore of the
I see,
road.
yeah.
Urban legend.
Lore.
My understanding is the pond is a man-made
Well,
pond.
fishing lore.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, I think with the dam there, I mean, there's probably something smaller there at one point, and then with that dam, that's making it much.
It originally was like, they used it for ice.
Yeah, it looks like it's been a wetlands forever, but not necessarily a pond. But that does beg a question around responsibility for maintaining that dam.
That'll be on the owner of the new 5-acre lot.
Okay.
Yep.
I move that we accept the well, we should
On an
accept it
additional
first.
No, we accept it and then,
First
Yeah.
comment, and move to approve it. I move that we accept it.
second.
All in favor? Aye.
I'll move that we approve it conditional on the items that we just
Okay,
listed.
does the secretary have properly identified the conditions?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll verify with the videotape.
And paper, you actually use the paper.
Yes, we. All right.
Second.
Do I have here a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I think we're good to go. I will not sign anything until we have.
Sounds good. Yeah, I should be able to update those.
I'm happy to do that.
Yep.
To get all the good stuff in.
And these can all be signed out of session once I submit.
Yes, they can.
correct?
It's just
Sounds good. I'll make a
these guys
Mylar.
have approved that I can sign it as long as you meet the requirements that they've established for conditional approval.
Sounds good.
That ends our public hearing. Thank you.
Would it be possible to get a copy of the checklist just emailed to me after, or it doesn't need to be obviously tonight or anything? Or
You can probably copy it right now.
is there anybody available to, what's that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll just do that. That works too. Got a little
Exactly,
technology.
scan it, email. I'll check with Julie tomorrow to see if somewhere. Because she said she had all the documents.
Yeah, just maybe didn't make it into the folder.
Or it's not
It's okay.
here.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, please email me.
You're welcome to stay if you like, but.
I would go home.
No problem.
You're also welcome to take a look. Please, take a look.
Take a copy, we don't need all these.
I think we have to have five.
Well, we're gonna get new ones.
Nice to meet you. Sorry about hearing your name and everything today.
Kevin, do you have an objection to these folks taking a copy of one of these?
They're public record at this point, so I personally don't. I can send you one too.
Well, I know you're gonna be sending us new ones, so.
Yes, yeah.
And if they would like
It'll be a little out of date, but,
5-acre is.
I'd be happy to share it with them.
yeah, that's fine.
This is part of the
Yeah,
conservation.
just wanna make sure.
Yeah, once it's public record, technically.
Well, yeah, but this isn't officially approved, so it's like, you know, it's
They're not looking
Kept
for
the
an
200
approved
for the
copy.
big lot.
Exactly, so that's why I asked the question.
Yeah,
It's-
no problem. Not a problem.
I never realized it went that far out back.
Yeah.
And where are you?
Oh, yeah.
Across the street?
Yeah.
Oh, is that-
He's downstream.
That's probably the time before that, she's a neighbor.
Did you want to take one of those?
Can we?
This is.
It is in the right, but I guess there's some wording in the deed.
What if that, this road didn't exist?
Even though the road is actually constructed, this is his property. We've sorted out, because you don't want to move the whole zone.
Right.
So we just allow for the
Okay. Oh, the next item on the agenda is a discussion of short-term rentals. I don't really want to have a whole discussion on that this evening.
This is one way of looking at it. How many times you doing this, so one way to see what they do. And then, you know, that's fine.
Yeah,
But why wait? Well, forward.
Think that we're appealing.
I prefer to see the dust settle on it, and, you know, I don't think we're in a position to make any definitive regulations now, and I think it's still out there in discussion. I think maybe getting, you know, some of the townspeople in, like they did in Conway, to let them put their 2 cents worth in as well would make sense.
Did you go to the meeting?
I didn't go to the meeting.
It was very
Tense.
eye-opening.
Yeah.
You know,
Well-
one of the issues that Conway is already dealing with, and if we wait, is that not only are neighborhoods disappearing, but people are now moving out of, you know, full-time residents are now moving out of neighborhoods because of the disruption caused by the short-term rentals. One property owner, describe the story, but one property owner wasn't approached by the police until the third, and this is a local property owner that owns several properties and rents them out. He wasn't
In
approached.
Jackson, are you talking about?
No, this is in Conway.
Okay.
So he wasn't approached till the third visit by the police. In the first visit, the police arrested 11 minors for underage drinking. In the second visit, they arrested 25 minors for underage drinking.
Wow.
And it was the third visit, which was just a noise disturbance, that the police finally decided to approach the owner. But imagine living next to a property where that type of activity is going on. And I don't think we see as much of
The owner
it.
was not a resident owner.
No.
Yeah.
But anyhow, it's just, there are, you know, people can be hurt by it in the sense that people are now moving out of places they've lived in for a very long time because of the disruption. I think putting it off and maybe having a forward discussion, seeing what Conway does, I think there is some value in that, but I think waiting is
Yeah,
also-
my question is, how should we proceed? Reading the stuff on the Conway, it looks like there's a little bit of territory process between the select board and the planning board as to who should be running what and who should be doing what. And
Yeah, I mean, one thing in Conway, it's not really, it's a separate group that's proposing stuff to the planning board. So it's
Mhm.
not really something the planning board, and which is a little bit similar to, you know, because there's the J-Home committee here and then working with the planning board. But I think it sounds to me like what Conway is if they're gonna move forward with anything, it'll be something very much like Laconia. It'll be much more of a registration process. You know, the one thing I would ask that we think about, it seems to me that there are really 3 types of short-term landlords. There is the property owner that lives on the property and rents out the ADU or a bedroom or whatever. And I don't think any of us want to impinge on that, because sometimes that's what helps someone or allows someone to own and live on a property, especially in a place like Jackson where the property values are so high. The second is the second homer, and those properties are underutilized. They aren't really available for any other use, because the second homer is going to want to use it at least a few weekends a year, and that prevents it being rented long-term. And second homes, even though they're underutilized properties, second home owners, I mean, that's very much part of this area. It's a valuable part of this area. And I don't think anyone really wants to hurt that. And they really, again, aren't really properties that are available for long term. I think what most people have less concern about are those that are really just buying properties and renting them as a business. And you know, I think that the registration process, it doesn't really curb that probably to a great extent, but it certainly better ensures that this is done responsibly. It better enables the town to do something when there is a problem. And if the town feels that we need to go further, then that registration process is going to go a long way towards being the foundation to any further action.
Well, that would be the point, to have the leverage to say, okay, we're gonna enforce noise ordinance.
Or
Or whatever ordinances, parking,
Parking.
off-street parking.
or just number of people.
Right, the number of people,
Based
all
the
the
number
things
of-
that we would not have leverage for if you just let it go.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we want to let it go. I think we would like to get something in for this cycle of voting for the spring vote to change the regs. And so I guess my question is how do we go about getting from here to get all this done? We're in October. We need to really get this done by December. And I think if I'm hearing correctly, at least, at a minimum, we're wanting to do some basic stuff, and I think all of us agree with the basic stuff. And we're not so sure about the, stepping over a particular line about how you get further on to limit a business, for example, and whether or not we can or can't, or how much you might want to, or if you define what equals a business and all that. I think that's problematic and possibly something that create a problem for us.
One possible way, although enforcement is certainly tricky, but what Laconia has looked at is limiting the number of rentals through the year.
Yeah.
And so that generally doesn't hurt the second home owner that wants to rent their home in between visits, to some degree, but it does, it does impact the person that wants to simply buy a property and then.
All right, so we can.
Every week, have a
Right.
turnover in.
So we could take a shot at that.
Well, I know that somebody has complained that owns a business in the area,
Yeah,
and they're subject to more rules and regulations than these people that are renting them out short term.
right.
And they were concerned about that, because
Yeah.
they have to, they're more scrutinized. Like with the safety precautions and all the rest of that stuff that they're concerned about.
Yeah.
Just so I bring it up.
And I guess it's not to say that we ought not to do that. I guess the question is,
How, yes.
what can we get done between now and December, get it packaged properly, because we need a public hearing
Mhm.
in order to make this happen. And I want that to happen. And I'd like to get something done this year, as opposed to just letting it go and waiting on Conway to decide what the hell they're gonna do, and then try to put something in place in January when it's too late.
Right.
We can't do that.
I think we could take the Laconia one and really use that as the basis, because it really is just registration, insurance of, fire, safety, that
Like
kind
what
of
we talked
stuff.
about last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you want to do this, guys? Do you want to, for the next meeting, have a set of opportunities that we agreed on, and then we'll vote on it, and then have a public hearing? Would that work?
I think so.
And we don't even need to vote on it to go to a public hearing, do we, or, because it's still.
No, I think it would be good to get a draft.
Yeah, you need
To
an
get
outline
drafted,
before you have a
outline.
public hearing,
And
for
then,
sure.
and for us to, meet and go over the details of the draft and get it to the point where everybody is comfortable with it.
And it doesn't have to be at the next meeting. We can have a meeting somewhere between now and the next meeting. I mean,
We'd have a special meeting,
Yeah, a
yes.
work
Yeah.
session.
I'm not sure we're ever gonna have the extent of the problem that they have in Conway. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't come in to Jackson and buy $100,000 home and turn it into a business. You could do, maybe not 100,000.
Well, only because there aren't $100,000 homes in town.
Pardon?
Only because there aren't $100,000. But let me give you one data point. Just a couple months ago, I and my fiance helped a woman buy a property on the old dump road. And that was a $220,000 house, which also is a unicorn. I mean, there's nothing in town less than 300,000 or 400,000 that's not a condo. And it's the weirdest house you've ever seen. But 220,000, 48 hours after it listed, there were 5 offers on the table.
Mhm.
And 3 of them were explicitly to just run it as a short-term rental business. the woman that we helped had to offer 5,000 over listing. Still wasn't the highest offer, but because she presented a letter explaining that it was going to be her home, permanent residence, she got the property.
Well,
That's what's happening.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I mean, is that you're not gonna find that many properties in Jackson that you can do that. I mean, I know there's no $100,000 homes in Jackson, but there are much less expensive homes in Conway, and that's why it's attracting people to do this. So that was a rare
Well, but
occurrence.
it's even the mega mansions that are being bought.
Oh, yeah, I also heard through the grapevine when in there, somebody bought, there's 4 properties, they live in Rhode Island, and they do nothing but rent them out. So,
In Jackson?
Yep.
yes.
Wow.
We have over 100 homes that are listed in Airbnb.
Yes.
And we have an additional 25 properties that are not on Airbnb that are on VRBO.
Well, somebody give me the names of these people that want to buy properties, will you please?
You're just not connected, probably.
I'm not connected, I'm retired.
Put your property for sale, you'll get all the names you want.
So there are quite a considerable number of properties. It represents close to 9% of the total properties in the town that
I
are
didn't realize
currently
that,
listed.
so.
And the revenues are over $1 million for those properties.
Excuse me, Ned. Can I have one of these?
I've got a question, and it's sort of relative to this, but a property was listed in a town, I won't say what town it was, and it listed for 2 bedrooms, and this is like an $800,000 home. And it listed as 2 bedrooms because it's got a 2-bedroom septic system,
Right.
and yet there's 4 bedrooms. And it appears that
And there's 4 bathrooms, right?
yeah, well, and they may be addicted, or it appears nobody does anything about that. And so if I had a buyer buy that property, you know, I think they're at risk because it's not meeting standards, but nobody enforces it.
And then when that property is short-term rented, the 4 bedrooms will be sufficient for, 12
12
people.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of, what do you call it in town now, that are, whatever those guys are that have to fix the septic systems. They're busy right now.
Yeah.
Because of the
Oh, yeah.
overflow and everything else right now.
But I don't know how a builder would get away with applying for a 2-bedroom, a 2-bedroom septic system and then go around and just ignore and build a 4. And we don't enforce that. I
Well,
don't get it.
they don't build 4. What they do is they build a room that does not have a closet, and then they put a bed in it.
Right, which doesn't mean means it's.
And therefore it
And,
doesn't
and,
meet the
and we
requirement.
didn't have building inspection until just a few years ago.
And,
Yeah.
well, I actually talked to Kevin about
So
that today.
you could apply for anything and then do
And
anything you want.
I think that's one of the things that it would be useful to have in whatever we propose, that folks can advertise a
Right,
2-bedroom
that's,
home as being a 4-bedroom home, as for
but
example.
just imagine somebody buys that and then they come in and enforce it, and they gotta build a new septic system and it won't go, it won't be approved. So I just
Right,
think,
because the lot size isn't adequate to
Right.
maintain
But
this.
that's, if you have registration of the short-term rentals, you can say, okay, there will be an inspection of what you're gonna advertise, and we'll look at your septic system or the plan. If it's for 2-bedroom, you can advertise a 2-bedroom.
Right.
You can't advertise a 4-bedroom.
That's what Kevin said, that he would be included in his inspections.
Yeah.
We would include it in part of his inspection.
I actually thought we said that we wouldn't sort of enforce it before the fact. We'd enforce it if there was a problem. But I like the idea that if, if they're advertising 4 bedrooms and there's only, septic's for 2, that, you know what?
You can't do that.
I think it would be reasonable
So who's gonna check on it to see?
require, yeah.
I mean, really, truly, we had a customer in the store one time that has a place over at Wentworth, and she wanted to put mattresses in the hallway. I advised her against that, but,
Yeah, it's clear they would do that.
yes. So what do you do with people that do that?
Well, that's what
I mean,
Or
you can't be,
put triple tier bunks
Yeah.
into a bedroom.
yeah, well.
But you can only control so much. It's just like
Exactly.
trying to save people from themselves.
yes.
I mean, you can have all the safety regulations you want, you can't save people from
Being stupid.
themselves. And
Yes.
if they want to be idiots, they're going to be idiots.
And they'll have to.
So we'll try, and I think that a registration process is a
Yeah,
good.
All right, so let me ask process again. Would you like to set a separate
Yeah.
meeting, then we can schedule a separate meeting a couple of weeks out from now then?
Yeah.
For us to have this conversation and
What-
create a proposal?
What about inviting several people that do short-term rentals to get their perspective?
What I would like to do first is I would like the board to come up with a proposal. And then I would like to have a public hearing and allow everybody in a public hearing opportunity then to have their day in court, if you will, to be able to do that.
There's a lot of
So-
NIMBYism and that's gonna happen as well. You know,
Yeah,
I don't
but-
want anybody doing a short-term rental in Jackson, you know, there's people that think that way.
Right.
So, you know.
But it's happened.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you
been
know,
happening for years,
Yeah,
years, and
right.
years. It's nothing new.
well, it's new in the sense that.
Because everybody's
you
doing it.
Do it online. And
Yeah.
At the moment, it's exploding, and it'll
Yeah.
probably reach a peak and
Yep.
fall off.
And find a different way.
But it's, you know, short-term rental, I I use Airbnb now whenever I vacation. It is
Most people do that
It's
now.
a more enjoyable
Mhm.
way to
Mhm.
lodge when you're on vacation,
Mhm.
period. And that means that anyone coming to the area and using Airbnbs are having a better time here in general, and that's important to the area. So
Yes.
we certainly don't want to eliminate short-term rentals. There's just a balance, I think, that we need to strike.
You know, there's another aspect, and that's our hotel owners. You know, I mean, I think we gotta take their opinions in as well, and, you know, balance it out.
I think to a large degree, and I have talked to someone from the hotel group, and basically what they've said is they would like a level playing field.
Right.
And I think that's reasonable. And I'm not sure what that means exactly, but I think we can level it more than where it's at right now.
Right.
I'm not sure that we can put it entirely level because I'm not sure we can regulate Airbnb as a business per se. And because our state legislature has not offered us the opportunity to do that.
Well, we do, I mean, there's a document from an attorney at the state level that really
Yeah, you-
says you
you
can
sent
do
that
what you
around.
want, period. You can define it how you want, and then you can
I just think there's so many things, and Jackson is different than Conway in many, many ways, and I don't think we should necessarily follow what they're doing, but I think, again, I don't think we need, I don't want to jump into it
Yeah,
and
but
get it wrong.
my point around the business part is that if you describe it as a business based on our zoning, then we would have to eliminate short-term rental Airbnbs from, by definition, we would have to eliminate short-term rentals in Jackson.
Right.
And that would, I don't think that's going to fly.
No, that's not a good idea.
I don't think that's the level playing field that they're talking about, or I don't think anybody anticipates wanting that to happen.
So I can take Laconia's draft and mostly leave it the same, but redraft whatever it looks like would be suitable for Jackson and bring that as a starting point for the discussion, if that's
Okay.
helpful.
Good.
That sounds reasonable.
We're all agreed can we do a meeting 2 weeks out from now? Everybody got a calendar out?
That would be.
2 weeks, that would be like 14 days. And
Whoa.
that would be the 24th of October, because today's the 10th. Simple.
Yeah. Any point?
And that would be a Thursday.